So, hey, good afternoon, Josh Whitfield, Content Marketing Media. So, today I'm going to talk about probably what's, been some of the most game-changing technology that we've implemented in a long time. And this is really uh, bringing together Anthropic Model Context Protocol built on the back of some new amazing agents that, we're previewing even before Octave previews themselves. So Octave's really been focused on bringing more agentic behavior into tools like Clay and into their product. And so we took it a little bit further and built that into an MCP with Anthropic, and we're going to show you that. But we're also going to bring you into the Clay table that you see on the screen. But we'll give you a little bit of background first. So over the last few weeks, Octave's built out some pretty phenomenal agents that really do things like qualify people, qualify company, and even more importantly, prospect. And why the prospecting is really so important because a lot of SDRs, BDRs, AEs that are responsible for lead gen, they need a place to go with a company that they're excited about, a domain, and find people that really fit into the persona of their ICP. So imagine this, like you want to target, a particular company, you plug in a domain, Octave already knows because you've built out playbooks for your messaging and your whole GTM motion around your ICP and your personas. And then what Octave can do now is go and help you find those exact people that fit those personas. And that's what I'm going to show you today. So first on the left side of the screen, I want to give you just a small sample of bringing this directly into Anthropic and Claude and MCP. So as you see here, I've asked it to identify 10 companies, and we just picked, just like Apollo, that enrich the companies and find 5 prospects, right? So we're using the power here of Anthropic to get this information, and it's going out to public sources here, and it's understanding what Apollo does, and then it takes it a step further and it does additional research on Apollo. And this is really where we're at with research, where we're at with Anthropic and MCP. But none of this yet is MCP because we have yet to go out and call anything connected via Model Context Protocol. So it tells us, hey, here's 10 companies. If you look at these 10 companies, if you're very familiar with lead gen, it's spot on. So a nice little lookalike list here. And then next, we're taking that step where we're going to go out and we're going to call APIs. And so this is where MCP comes into Anthropic. And if you see down here, we've connected a bunch of different actors and MCP servers. Natively now, we have our Google Calendar and Drive and web search. We even have extended thinking we could turn on. But at the end of the day, because of integrations and deep research, we can now integrate MCP with our own tools, anything we have built an integration to or anything that we have an MCP server for. And so one of those MCP servers we use is through Appify, which allows us to call any API. And you start to see that at work. And what we've done is programmatically tell it and train it how to call Octave. And so as Octave has built these new agents, we can use them natively right here within MCP and Anthropic. And so if you look at some of these requests here, you can see it is going out to an Octave agent. It is doing research on ZoomInfo, which is one of the lookalike domains. And then here it is bringing back all of that information, right, about ZoomInfo. And we do that on and on and on. And we kind of get to a point now where we have a detailed analysis of Apollo and some lookalike companies and why these companies are very specifically relevant to our ICP. And so going a little bit further, we enrich that information and we qualify them. And we'll talk a minute about qualification agents and Octave. But we are qualifying those individuals and we are going out and reaching and identifying key prospects at those companies and getting information not only on the company, but the prospects themselves. And what's neat, if you think about this, is these are prospects that fit into our exact ICP. And why that is because we have programmatically defined that in Octave, tied to our playbook. And so we go further, and now we get specific recommendations on who we should reach out to and why. And so that's part of the return of the prospecting agent. And then an approach to do that and even more detailed information. So again, I've only done 10 here just to show what it looks like bringing 3 agents together. And I can even export this to a list. Now let's move on the left side here to these agents, right? So I've built a couple of these agents, and so let me clear this out here, and you can see. So first, we're going to talk about our prospecting agent. And if I get into Octave, I'm saying these are the playbooks I want it to focus on. These are the roles I want to reach out to. So you see those roles here. I can do some exact titles, fuzzy matching. I can even do lookalike companies, which we'll talk about in another video. But here I'm going to build a single search. And Octave, if I give it a domain, is going to go out and find the people that are in these roles. And so let's just pick one that's a little bit easy to run real quick, and we'll run Apple and Octave. And this is showing you what it looks like in the UI, but keep in mind this is exactly what it looks like in MCP and what was happening behind the scenes and what I will show you in the end at Clay. And so Octave went out and found 5 people that were in those roles that match these ICPs and that I've defined these personas. I could export this if I wanted to a CSV, or even more importantly, I could programmatically put it in a Clay table. So let me show you Clay here, because this is where the rubber meets the road, right? This is where now I can accomplish this through these Octave agents, but also add things like email enrichments, add phone numbers, etc. So here what I've done is added the domain NFL.com. I told it I wanted only 10 leads. The prospecting agent, which is this agent connected via API, is going to go out and pull those 10 leads. And now it's going to give me that output, which I'm going to send to another table, because then I will have those specific outputs as individual rows. And so here you see them there. And I'm getting the benefit of all of this data that's coming from the Octave agent, right? So if I drill down here, I can see all of this contact information for this individual. I can see information very specifically about the company. I can even see information specifically about the persona. And these are the personas that I'm targeting here. And so if I go further, I see I can pull that information into the table and then start to use my normal Clay enrichments if I want. I can enrich that person with LinkedIn. I can enrich that company. I can go out and use Clay's waterfalls to find emails, waterfalls to find phone numbers. And I now have completed the process. So using an agent, all I've done in the beginning of this is give it a domain, because, hey, maybe I, saw that these 10 companies were at a conference that I'm interested in and learning who I need to reach out to. Maybe I saw that this company showed interest on our website and I want to find out who the most important people are to reach out to that company. All of this has now been accomplished through an agent and through Clay. And taking that further, I've now gone out and used the power of Clay's enrichments to find emails, to find phone numbers. And then really kind of to tie in the last aspect of this with Octave is Octave's also deployed, and I'm going to come into agents here, qualify people and qualify company agents. And so here's an example of an agent that I built, and it's a qualify person agent. And again, I can tie it to the playbooks and the personas that I've built out in Octave, which are very, very detailed understanding of the ICP, understanding of your specific solution, and take that information and qualify the person based off that information. And this is really just next level lead generation and qualification. And if I wanted to, and I'll just, I'll kind of pick one here, but let me see, we'll just pick IHG for a minute. And let me get into maybe a playbook of ours so I can show you this. So you can go into these playbooks, and under qualifiers, you can literally define what you want to use to qualify them by. Like nothing like this exists on the market. And tying that back specifically to the Clay table, I am now able to run this information against these companies and individuals as well, and look at how they qualify, why they qualify, get a score, and really make a determination. Are they the right person to reach out to? All based on criteria that Octave will define for me from my playbook, or to take that one step further, I can define criteria myself by adding questions, both good fit and bad fit questions. So, just to wrap this up, we have now built a complete lead gen solution that qualifies, that finds the people we need using Clay, getting the emails. And then we can send this on to our LinkedIn outreach. We can send this on to our email outreach. And we now have a complete solution thanks to Octave, Clay, and the power of MCP.